uptick in this Sophia technology, Sophia of Gnosticism. There's a whole backstory to that where, she somehow, I guess, from what I understand, is part and parcel of creating Yahweh, this demiurge, and she is the goddess, false goddess of wisdom. And there's this false idea that the God of the Bible, he thinks he's God and in control, but he's kind of petty and weak, and he wants to keep all of the creation that he's made under the dark. And so the Luciferian heroine hero of the story is this Sophia figure, this hidden wisdom, this hidden knowledge, that if you have this secret information that is also found within Kabbalah, by the way, too, this mysticism, this spiritual dimension that opens up to you through the practice of meditation and various witchcraft rites and things of that nature, then you can access this information so that you can overcome this issue of basically filling your temple with light, but it's the light of Lucifer. And Matthew talks about this, the book of Matthew. It talks about if you have the wrong light, if you have a false light that your eye sees, your whole body will be dark. And how great will that darkness be when it's a counterfeit light, basically? It's said a little bit cooler than that, but I'll try to put a link in the description box so you can look at what the actual scripture itself says. But anyhow, you're seeing this uptick of the goddess. You're seeing this huge point represented within videos, especially this massive, the goddess is going to save us, the light is going to save us, the secret knowledge is going to save us. And we just need to get into mysticism and practicing of black magic, specifically Jewish black magic. But Hinduism also has counter counterpoints as well, of chakras and these different little spots within your body that when you open them up and you allow the communion and the yoking of you and their chief entities, this God that is not a person, but rather it is, I guess you could say, a thing. It is the universe. It is the everythingness. Brahma, I believe they call it, if I'm not mistaken. You have this whole pantheon of false Hindu gods. And there's such a correlation in so many of the false religions that all have that core same false god of this world from 2 Timothy 4:4. And the whole thing is about obtaining this wisdom that will free you and make you God. So there's a lot of historical, within these different religions, and Gnosticism is what Sophia is from. And actually the Bible would have dealt with Gnosticism in that day. They also believe that if you're in your body, if you're in your temple, that you kind of have to be freed from materialism. You have to be free. That's the evil, is being locked up in this body of flesh down here, and the demiurge is keeping you from your true destiny of being a god, is the whole premise behind it when you study it all out. And Jesus, of course, came to bring us rebirth and to make us a new humanity that would be in total union with God and friends with God. And the Bible would tell you that Lucifer is lying to you, that Lucifer can appear in a male form. He is a male angel and he has a lot of power, but he can also take on the form of whatever he likes, from what I understand. And he can take on that female goddess personage, and he does. And all of these false religions, it's Lucifer trying to trick people. And specifically when you start looking at the person of Sophia in Gnosticism, and she ends up being borrowed from so many different false goddesses of so many different religions, because it's all from the same uh, false light, this angel, this entity that can transform himself into uh, this angel of light for deception, for basically to keep you off the path of even remotely thinking you can go to Jesus Christ and be saved. It's a big game of keep away, and they don't want you to go to, quote, that man that a lot of Jewish unbelievers abhor. Not all Jews. There are many Jews who are in Christ completed, and we love them and we're one with them. I'm only speaking of a certain sect of Jews that are into Kabbalah. And so it's all about this secret, hidden stuff. This is incredibly dangerous because what it does is it locks people into a position of staying in insubordination, rebellion, and unbelief. And when you sustain your unbelief, you're actually committing the unpardonable sin. There's lots of ways that people can commit the unpardonable sin through a billion different paths of how they hold on to unbelief. So whether they believe in this God or that, or whether the Pharisees tell Jesus, you're doing these amazing miracles through the power of Satan, which is a completely stupid statement. It didn't even make sense. And Jesus grabbed a hold of that and ripped it apart from a logical standpoint and said, that really doesn't make sense, does it? I'm defeating Satan's kingdom by the power of Satan. How will his kingdom stand then? I mean, he just really made them look stupid and foolish because that line of logic didn't make sense. So, the way that you commit the unpardonable sin is a thousand different paths to the same goal, basically, is what I'm saying. And it all has to do with this refusing to put your faith in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. And how you go about procuring that is that there's so many ways to do that. But in the end, the goal, the point, not meditation, I'm sorry, the motivation rather of why people commit the unpardonable sin when they dig their heels in and they say, I will not, it all goes back to this issue of I refuse to use this key of faith. It is the only way, it is the only currency God accepts is your faith, trust, belief. Those are all cousins of each other. And if you won't put that in him, you're trusting in some other thing. Even if you say you're an atheist and you don't believe there's a God, what you're actually saying is that you believe you're God. Really, if you think about it. So anyhow, that said, there is this whole uptick in this goddess worship, this obtaining of false secret knowledge that will make you more than you could ever be on your own. Well, so there's that aspect of Sophia that we've had for a long time, thousands of years, many different religions, many name changes, many alterations, et cetera, same source. But then you move into this high tech, and I think this picture was from 2015, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that detail, but I will try to remember to put the link in for this article. It was, yeah, it was when she was in Hong Kong. It doesn't really matter when it was. The point is that here she is being represented now as a poster child of artificial intelligence. We have, and she wants to pass this knowledge on to you through technology. So when you kind of put both of those two things together, Sophia of hidden knowledge of Gnosticism, and then Sophia of technology, and this movement towards allowing AI, which are really honestly fallen angels, I suppose you could say demons, all of that kind of stuff into one through the technology, giving them power and control over everything. Does that sound like a good idea to you? Now they eventually want to get this AI hooked up inside with making like connections between a wireless interface with your brain. So we're talking make a wireless interface connecting the iron, the robotics, the AI, the technology, the robotics, all that kind of thing that we've made. And then Gordy Rose with his creation of the quantum computers. He's a self-admitted witch. He went out into the spiritual forbidden zone where it's rich with fallen angels, and he communed with them and they gave him information. Now, whether that, well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but that's the gist of it. So he communed with them, and it may have been that they gave him the information to make the quantum computers, or he made the quantum computers and then he spoke to them through that. Which it is, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. The point being that he reached into forbidden zones that God said, do not do this. He did this. He connected with the fallen angels, and now our society is built on this growing economy and spirituality, mind you, and the technology to bring AI into the marketplace of everything and then into you. And so we have those warnings from the Bible about the mark of the beast. It's not here yet, but I think that they're getting people prepared, that frog in the pot scenario that people talk about all the time, to make you comfortable with implantables, and then to the point where they then put something in your forehead or your hand that jacks you into the 5G, into the internet, into the AI. You have now just given basically technological um, technological possession of these entities into your temple. Think about that for a second. So when you kind of consider all of this together, this Sophia of the religion and Sophia of the technology, and then pair it together, you now have the poster child for an entire movement of robotics and AI and these fallen angels, all these stuff, blah, 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 blah. Not to mention all the demons that we already have on the earth with us. Read Enoch 15 and it will become incredibly clear to you, how did we get demons? And read Genesis 6. That will all become abundantly clear to you. Jude talks about it. 2 Peter talks about it. I don't want to spend time on that, but suffice it to say, you now have fallen angels plus demons working in this realm through, honestly, very foolish human beings that are little body temples walking around with their souls, and they don't have the Spirit of God, so they don't even understand the spiritual things that they're messing with, really. They are motivated by their fleshly desires, and they don't get the level of deception that is being propagated on this world through these entities, through the technology, and eventually into you, mainlining it into you, mainlining spiritual experiences and meditation and all that directly into you. And that's, I submit to you, a demonic possession that is through the technology that takes up residence in your temple. Now, when you consider those two poster children for wicked women, and you consider this direct mainlining of evil into your body for those who will be here for that want to become gods through the technology, the whole point of why she's wearing these Mason-esque colors, I mean, her arm is comprised of black and white. That's weird, right? They didn't just go with white or didn't just go with black. No, they mixed it. She's wearing a black outfit. She obviously doesn't have her hair. She's a robot. And she's holding this apple for him. And the apple is, of course, your core piece of fruit representing the evil of deception, the evil of disobedience, the evil of independence from God to gain something that was never yours to have in the beginning. And God specifically told that Adam and Eve of that time, which I submit to you, they are showing you a high-tech Adam and a high-tech Eve for your new beginning. That is the same scenario of eating that apple, disobeying God, and furthering the already scenario of being independent from God, being independent from good, not being able to image copy God, all the stuff that happened in the garden that we've talked about in countless videos. I've got a playlist too that I'll put in the description box below to help understand, what is spiritual death? Why do we need to be reborn? Blah, blah, blah. But what you have here is a fake counterfeit of trying to mirror that very reality. And it's something that's being shown in video after video. And it's certainly shown in this picture. And it's a way of becoming reborn again in a damnable counterfeit where you get to be reborn as a god with technology. You just take that little mark inside your forehead or your hand and you can have everything, they'll tell you. But it's a trick, it's a trap, and it's quite brilliant.